Barry Godsey. He's the head coach of the Rustburg Red Devils. Rustburg will travel to Brookville on Monday in a quarterfinal Seminole District game. Barry Godsey spoke with me about what his team has done right, needs to do, coaching in the postseason, and much, much more. It's the head man of the Rustburg Red Devils, Barry Godsey, on the Sports Buffet podcast.
Always fun for me to catch up with Barry Godsey, head coach of the Rustburg Red Devils. Red Devils getting ready to take on the Brookville Bees in a Seminole District Tournament game, a big one, as it is the 4-5 game. And Coach, let's talk about your team before we talk about all the others. What's been going right when the Red Devils are right?
Well, we're right. We're getting some timely hits and making the plays in the field and pitching pretty good. But we've been on a downward spiral here lately, and I tell the guys all the time, we can get 2 out of the 3. You're right in the games and good chance to win some games, but we've been struggling to get 1 out of 3 some nights.
What type of team do you have this season?
Well, we're more of a scrappy bunch. Not a whole lot of power. We have to manufacture runs. We have to get runners on, steal some bases, bunch of people over, and then capitalize on the scoring opportunities when you get the chance.
I think a coach always would like to be veteran to a degree, but also be able to mix in some young guys. In terms of leadership and in terms of, mixing those veterans with your youngsters, kind of describe that for me.
Well, we had a mixture this year. I got 8 juniors and 8 seniors. Some of them have some varsity experience from the past. Some are from a JV. Some are even from the varsity team from last year with just not a lot of experience. And so it's been a building process for some of the guys. The newer guys had to find out what it was about in the Seminole because they found out how tough it is day in and day out. And the older guys knew what to expect, and some of them had some pretty good years, improvements over last year, and then some of them haven't had the type of year they were hoping for.
How long do you think it takes people to gain experience? I know that sounds kind of silly, but...
Well, I think a lot of times it depends on the individual. Some people can go right here and play 2 or 3 games and they realize, hey, this is no joke right here. I've got to turn up my practice effort and turn up my off-field practice, not off-field practice, but non-practice routine, work on stuff outside of practice on my own, where others, it's just a learning process they have to go through and have some failure before they realize what it takes. And so it's hard to say, everybody varies. I've had kids that after a couple games, they say, okay, varsity baseball is this, or the Seminole District is this. And then others, it's been the following year before you really notice the difference.
You talk about things have not been as up as you wanted them to be lately. Here comes the second season, though. It's the district tournament starting on Monday. How much do you preach of fresh start starting tomorrow or starting today, whatever?
The last regular season game was over that night. I told them wipe everything off the slate. We had 3 practices, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, to get ready for Brookville or whoever we might end up with. I knew going into the last game at the time it was Brookville, but I didn't know. It also depended on who won some other games as well. But I told them none of it matters. We've been the 7 seed before and knocked off a 2 seed, and I've been the 6 seed before and knocked off a 3. And I've also, been on the other end. I've been a 6 and 7 seed and not fared so well.
You have a ton of experience in terms of winning in big games, like you mentioned, and succeeding. How important do you feel at this point in the season your experience is as a head coach and getting very, very deep into postseason?
Well, I always tell people all the time, you can't catch it, hit it, or throw it for the players, but I've just been stressing about having some new season, and when you do advance, how hard it is to advance, to enjoy the moments when you have those big moments like that. And as far as the coaching staff, I tell my coaches all that this is our time to turn our game up. Matter of fact, as I'm talking to you, I'm actually working on spray charts and looking back over the last 2 or 3 years of notes from Brookville, trying to find anything that we could use for a game plan.
Before we talk about Brookville, let's mention some kids on your team who you've been impressed with, and like we had talked about earlier, if things are going right, who are some guys that are making them go right?
Well, Adam Sandler's had a great year for us. He's senior first baseman. He's really swung the bat well and plays a solid defense for us. Harley Young is center field, has done a great job for us in the outfield and swung the bat, been hitting in the leadoff hole a lot. Joe Hall's been consistent at shortstop and batting in the 2 hole for Martinez and Jerry Talley and Michael Mayhew and Brandon Goff for giving us some quality innings on the mound at different times. So, I tell the time it just takes one night of all of it coming together to make a difference.
It's funny, some of those names you mentioned, I remember in some of the years past when we've done some Dixie youth games on WKDE radio, and, some of those kids played on some of those Rustburg youth teams. Do you feel when kids experience success at the youngest level in terms of Dixie youth, that's good or that's bad when they get to you?
It really depends on the individual again. Some kids think because they have success or as a youth that it's automatically going to translate to success at the high school level. Then others realize that it's a totally different game. Most youth fields are smaller distance for the mound, smaller fences, and shorter base paths. And, of course, the high school games played on a regulation field. And I think that a lot of times separates a lot of kids as they get older. Somebody might say, well, this kid was on this all-star team, but now he's not. And, sometimes it depends on how much more they work as they go along.
You mentioned talking about looking at things about Brookville from the past few years. Obviously, new head coach, although Chris Glaze has been with Jim White for quite a while. How different is Brookville now that Coach White is no longer in the captain's seat and Coach Glaze has assumed that role?
It's being the first year, and we've only we've seen them twice. I don't see a whole lot of difference. Coach Glaze and myself actually played against each other in high school, and he played for Coach White, so I see a lot of the same traits Coach White's used. A lot of hit and runs, stealing bases, bunting. So a lot of similarities there, but like I said, this is just his first year, too, at the helm.
Really? You and Coach Glaze played against each other? I didn't know he was that young.
Coach Glaze and I think he graduated in 87 or 88, somewhere like that, and I was 86, somewhere along there.
Well, I did not know he was such a young man. I'll have to compliment him on that next time.
You might want to go the other way and tell you he was that old.
No, hey, I know who I'm talking to now, so I gotta be nice to my former broadcast partner. Let's talk.
Yeah, you fired me from that real quick too. So.
Well, hey, when the assistant gets fired, the head is normally not far behind. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other district tournament games. And I know obviously JF has the bye as the number 1 seed. What impresses you about Jim Thacker's Cavaliers?
They don't beat themselves. They make this year it seems like they made all the plays which they have in the past too. They make a lot of the plays. They make you beat them. They don't make many errors. Pitchers don't walk many guys, and they get some clutch hits. They keep the ball in play, and you're going to have to make some plays against them.
Before we talk about another matchup in the tournament, something that kind of popped into my head real quick. I think everybody in the Seminole District does a good job coaching their teams, and you see that when you go out to a Lynchburg College game or any school in the ODAC normally always has some Seminole District people on it, or USA South or what have you. How important is it that you treat your program almost like an extension and make it, prep for college to where people don't get rudely surprised when they go to play baseball at the next level if that's what they're going to do?
Well, I'm not so sure how important it is that we treat it solely like a college program, but I think it's important that we emphasize to the kids, if you're thinking about continuing on past high school as a college baseball player, at whatever level it may be, this is what the type of things you can expect. If you think I'm hard about this, that's nothing compared to what you're going to see. Or if you think you're just going to be able to practice for a couple hours and then practice is over, most of the time that's not the case. And so, I think those are the important things so when they get there, that like you said, it's not a total shock to them, but they can say, okay, this is what Coach was talking about. And then, they can make their own judgments from there.
And, I think, too, it's important of not only do you need to develop your kids physically, fundamentally, and everything like that, but what I like to call situational baseball or baseball intellect of knowing what to do in certain situations or seeing why that happened, even if they're not a great player on the bench, knowing why a certain thing happened. Talk about, prepping them mentally and baseball IQ-wise just as much as physically.
Well, I think, we're talking about dealing with 16, 17-year-olds and in some cases 18-year-olds, and that things can affect their moods and attitudes pretty quickly. And, you have to tell them preach to them about, this is a game of failure. You're going to make mistakes, and, even the best ones don't hit, in the big leagues don't
Right.
You're going to have to tell them that, you're playing a game where you're going to fail. And you have to, that's a hard thing for kids to understand, is that, we're used to always succeeding. I tell my kids all the time, the ball players that can stay on the even keel, not get too high and not get too low, are usually your better ball players throughout whatever level you're playing. Enjoy the moment when it happens, but then, it's over. I also tell them all the time, you might be 0 for 3, but there might be that one at bat in the bottom of the 7th with the game on the line that makes a difference. Everybody forgets about those 3 strikeouts or the 3 times you didn't get to run in or something like that. So that's the hardest thing to get across to them, that you are going to fail, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to give them home runs as pitchers, and you just got to keep fighting and keep building off of it. And I tell them that's so much like life. That's how life is. I'm going to slap you in your face some days, and you got to find a way to handle it and move on to the next day.
And, too, I was thinking just as you were talking about that, how important is it not only if they don't pick it up, but, say a guy makes a pitcher work and throw 10 or 11 pitches just because he keeps battling, and then the next guy gets up and, gets a base hit or a double or a home run. How important is it to preach your failure might be success for a teammate?
Right. And, that's what I try to preach always is, you give yourself up on bunt, which in turn puts the next man in position to do something, which in turn gives the team an opportunity to do something. And that's what I've really tried to preach to them is the team concept. It's not about you. It's about what's best for the team. And once again, that's a lot of pressure or a lot of, I'm trying to take the word I want to use here.
I get what you're saying without saying it, though.
Yeah, a lot of influence that kids have got to realize that, it's not about them and that the team needs them to do certain things. You've got to sacrifice. I tell the kids all the time, baseball's on the place in life where sacrifice is really appreciated.
Right, absolutely. Let's look at another Seminole District matchup in the tournament on Monday. Amherst will match up with Liberty. Tell me the strengths of Mike Thompson and Joey Crawford's squad.
Well, Amherst, I'm assuming Adams will be on the mound. He's upper 80s to probably 90. So they hit the ball as well. They make the play. So that's their strong point. Coach Thompson's team, they're pretty solid defensively. They put the ball in play a lot too. So I think that's going to boil down to who makes the plays. If you give extra outs to either side, it could come back to haunt you.
For people who may not have seen a lot of Seminole District baseball this year, but have kind of kept up with the district the past 5, 6, 3, 4 years, whatever, who is Chris Adams most comparable to?
I've only seen him throw myself a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Velocity-wise, he runs it upper 80s. So, naturally I had Blake Forthman, so Blake doing the upper 80s. But he's more, I think, on the side, low 3/4 on the side. So his ball's got a lot of run to it. And it's hard to think of anybody right off the top of my head that did a lot of pitching down on the side right there.
So Chris Adams is the first Chris Adams. He's not a reincarnate. I'm sure Joey Crawford will take that.
Yeah. Definitely. And when you don't see guys a whole lot who throw that hard and they're a little bit different on the side or low 3/4, it takes a little adjustment to get used to that.
The 2-7 matchup is Heritage against EC Glass. I don't think it's necessarily what the Lynchburg City Schools rival in basketball or in football, but I'm sure Kevin Brown, obviously very cognizant of what Dennis Knight's team can do. Break down the Toppers and the Pioneers.
Yeah, I think they split on the year.
Right.
Coach Knight's team, they're playing much better here lately. His pitchers are pitching to contact. They're putting the ball in play, making you make plays, and they've been playing pretty sound defense. Of course, Coach Brown's team and Nigel Andrews being the main standout on that team, but they got several other guys who have been hitting the ball pretty well lately and playing good defense. So that should be a good one as well. I'm assuming Andrews will be on the mound tomorrow night as well.
I know people that are in the know about baseball, when they see Heritage down, that's probably not going to last with Dennis Knight at the helm. Talk about what makes Dennis Knight such a good coach.
Well, he's coached. He's played some minor league baseball. He's coached in the college level. He's coached in high school for years. So he's been around the game a lot. And when you've been around the game for a while, you see a lot of different things, and you know what to expect out of players, and you try to make them understand what's expected of them. And he's another one that does a great job of telling them what it's going to be like if you're fortunate enough to go on to the next level. And I think a lot of times with kids, when they know, especially high school kids, when they know that you either had some college experience or some minor league or pro experience, and they take notice to some of those type of things.
You know, I think a lot of coaches can tell early on when their team is going to be okay in terms of you can just tell mentally early on in the game, hey, we're going to be okay tonight, or hey, the guys look really down or whatnot. How important is it that, you know, guys don't kind of give away, hey, if we're not feeling it tonight, we better fake it pretty good in a district tournament game?
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I don't think you'll see many teams tomorrow night just come out completely flat just because they know, everybody knows that it's a one-and-done situation for you. So I would hope and assume that everybody comes out that way ready to play. I know that's what I'm hoping for my team.
You know, this may sound silly, but you guys are at Brookville tomorrow, and we'll close with this. Definitely best of luck against the Bees, and we'll talk to you down the road. But less pressure with it being a road game at all? I mean, can you take good of, hey, we're not playing at home?
No. I mean, actually, I think we probably played better this year at home than we have on the road. Mm-hmm. So that's another challenge for us, is to up our game and, you know, play a better game on the road.
Do Seminole District ballparks really differ to where one team can be helped out really by a park as opposed to one team can really be hurt by a park? And if so, you know, aside from the fact that you're playing on Brookville's home field and they play on it more than you do, is their park catered to Rustburg's style of play?
Well, you know, I think we're more of a, like I was saying earlier, I think we're more of a base-hitting, you know, manufacturer type team. So that, in that sense, not a whole lot of parks change our approach to that. Now, of course, when we play at home, our park's not the biggest, deepest park, but, you know, we do have the 16-foot high fence out there, which, you know, there's some balls that end up getting hit off of that sometimes that other places might get caught, or some balls might come out your ballpark. Some couple kids might hit a home run and normally wouldn't hit one somewhere else. But, you know, as far as my team's concerned, I don't think what field we play on has a whole lot to do with the way we approach a game offensively.
Coach, best of luck against Brookville. Always fun talking to you, and we'll do it much sooner in the future.
Well, thanks again, Bob.